So today we're going to start our ciabatta bread. Last night I started my Poolish by mixing it all together, popping it in the fridge for at least 12 hours so it can rest. The longer it stands, it actually develops a good flavor and also helps with the development of the gluten in your ciabatta. So let me get that for you. Okay, so this is the ciabatta Poolish which I made. Beautifully bubbly. It's now ready to be mixed into our dough. So the first thing I'm going to do is to make it easy to transfer to your mixer. I'm going to pour the remaining water, I've got the measurements down below, into the Poolish. This just makes it easy to remove from the bowl. Okay, let's get that loose from the bowl. Okay, and we'll pour that into our mixing bowl. Okay, then we're gonna add our flour. That's your white bread flour. Add that to the bowl. We're adding our teaspoon of salt. And we're gonna pop the mixer, the paddle. So it's always better to use a paddle instead of the actual bread hook because this is a very wet dough. So this paddle hook works beautifully. So this is actually a high hydration dough, which means that it's 80% water of 100% of the flour. So the flour and the water ratio is 80%. The water to flour ratio is 80%, so it's quite a wet dough, which makes a beautiful, beautiful ciabatta. So we're going to do this mixing motion for about 6 minutes. To start off, we'll start off with the lowest speed for 1 minute, the second speed for 1 minute, and then on the third speed for 4 minutes. So it's a total of 6 minutes. I'll start my timer on 1 minute, and there we go. Let's go. Okay, that's it. So our dough is now mixed. The only thing we need to do is lift it up and then take your wet hands, just pour me some water in here. Okay. Put some water, and that will help you get the dough off from the paddle without sticking to your hands. And voila! Nice clean paddle. Now we need to transfer this dough to a oiled bowl. We're using our half a teaspoon of olive oil just to oil the bowl. So we use this bowl. Well. The bowl is well oiled. We're taking our batter and pouring it into the bowl. Okay. thing we need to do is to cover this with cling fold, and we're going to give it a little turn every 45 minutes for 3 turns, 3 intervals, 45 minutes, and we're going to turn with a wet hand in between each 45 minutes. And that's our dough ready to brew and become delicious ciabatta. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is basically to use this dough that we've prepared to actually make 2 nice ciabatta loaves. The main thing you need is a nice little shaker with flour so that you can dust your flour, dust your surface with flour, and you also need scrapers, and then a cotton cloth. You can actually use a sheet or just a nice clean cotton cloth that you can place your dough on so you can prove. So I'm going to put this to the side, and then I'm going to dust the surface over here just with sufficient flour, because remember this dough is extremely wet. It's a high hydration dough, so please make sure that your surface is properly floured. So I'm going to dust the fabric as well with flour, because also you don't want your dough to be sticking to that cotton either. So just a nice layer of flour. Okay. All right. So now we're going to take our dough, uncover it. As you can see, it actually has proofed beautifully. You don't need to do much handling of this dough. You can simply turn the bowl upside down onto your floured surface, and it oozes out by itself. So you don't want to do too much knocking around of this dough at this point, because you don't want to knock out any of the gas bubbles, any of the air bubbles in the dough. We're going to cover the top of it with flour as well, because at this point we're going to be handling it with our scrapers just to shape it into a nice little square, and then we'll cut it in half to form 2 loaves. So we have our 2 scrapers here. We're just gently going to push it together so that you can cut it down the middle. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more flour. Okay, now we're going to use the scraper to cut down the middle of this beautiful batch of dough. Just separate it as well as you're slicing, just to create some kind of flour barrier between the 2 loaves so that they don't join again, because it's a very wet dough. Okay. Nice. Okay, so now this is be a bit of a tricky part, because you need to lift this and place it onto your cotton cloth. So we're going to go from both ends and just push in and gently but quickly move it over onto the cloth. I'm going to create a little fabric seam between the two loaves of bread. We'll move the second one over. Again, very quickly but gently over. I'll just push this across so you can see exactly what it looks like on the cloth. Okay, so those are 2 loaves of bread. I'm just shaping it nicely so that it can prove further into actual loaves. This one as well. Okay, add a bit more flour on the top just to make sure the cloth doesn't stick to it either. And then we're going to turn this over to cover the bread, and we'll leave it for about 20 minutes to prove further. And then I'm going to preheat the oven right now so that we can pop these babies in the oven and we'll have beautiful fresh ciabatta loaves. Okay, so now we're gonna bake these beautiful ciabatta loaves, 2 loaves that we have. So the only thing I've done is to preheat the oven at 230 degrees Celsius. I put a bowl or pan of boiling water in the bottom of the stove because we want some moisture in the oven as well, which is actually going to create a nice crisp crust on your loaves. We're also going to have a spray bottle handy because as we put the loaves in, we want to spray some mist into the oven because that's also going to help with that humidity or moisture that we need in the oven. So the first thing I did was to actually dust a flat pan with flour, just to make sure that the bread doesn't stick to the actual pan. And this is another part that's a bit tricky, is we need to now transfer these little soft cushiony little loaves over into our pan. So I'm going to try to do this as gently but as efficiently as possible. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to open it up. I'm actually going to roll the loaf over just to make sure it's not sticking at the bottom, which it's not. That's good. And then I'm going to quickly grab it and place it on the pan. The second one as well, flip it over and then just grab it, flip it on the pan. And now we're going to shape them, put them back into shape again like we did before, without pushing out any of the air in the actual loaves. And this is now going to go into our oven for between 18 and 25 minutes, depending on how crisp or how brown you like your loaf. I like mine nice and crunchy, nice and brown. So I'm going to keep it in for about 25 minutes. It's going into the oven right now. Minutes, and now we'll just wait to see how beautiful those babies come out. Okay, so this is the result of the baking of the ciabatta breads. They're beautifully brown, they smell fantastic, and just listen to that sound. They're nice and hollow. That's a gorgeous loaf of bread. Look at that. Beautiful homemade ciabatta bread.